Okay, so let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please. Can you call the roll?
Yes. Browning. Here. Campbell.
Here.
Guerrero.
Here.
Hilbert.
Here.
Leeper. Here. Stahl.
Here.
Wood.
I need a motion to open the hearing on the amended 2021-2022 school district budget.
So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper. Is there a second?
Second.
Jeff Shepard. Call roll, please.
Campbell.
Yes.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Hilbert.
Yes.
Leeper. Yes. Stahl.
Yes.
Browning.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't believe that anybody's here to speak
So we sit here
in
for
regards to the budget hearing. Would anybody like to speak on
Maybe Miss Hilbert is here.
it? Well, anyway, we had I presented the amended budget during the May board meeting. I think that was on May 12th. And it has been on display in the unit office since then. No one contacted me to come to the board meeting tonight to address any issues with the amended budget. So I would recommend when we get to that portion of new business in the regular meeting that we approve the 21-22 amended school district budget.
Okay, so if no one has any questions, I need a motion to close the hearing on the amended 2021-2022 school district budget. Motion made by Jessica Browning. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jeff Stahl. Call roll, please.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Hilbert.
Yes.
Leeper. Yes. Stahl.
Yes.
Browning.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Okay, and I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Jessica Browning. Is there a second?
Second.
Josh Hilbert. Call roll, please.
Hilbert.
Yes.
Leeper. Yes. Stahl.
Yes.
Browning.
Yes.
Campbell. Guerrero.
Yes.
Time?
6:02.
I did.
Yep. And then at this time, I'd like to open the regular meeting. Could you call roll, please?
Browning.
Here.
Campbell.
Here.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Hilbert.
Yes.
Leeper. Yes. Waiting for her. Where is she? Stahl.
Here.
Wood.
All right. 6:04. Dr. Field, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we want
Yes.
Megan and Kelly to go ahead and do their piece first, then we'll go into closed session, and then we can come out and
Yeah.
later and vote on it?
Yeah.
Okay, so good afternoon or good evening, I guess. So for you that don't know, Megan, and I'm the regional general manager with Aramark. We have here tonight Kelly Bryce is with me too. She's your food service manager. Our food service director, Michelle Wilhauer, had surgery this week, and so she was not able to attend. Doing well, but just couldn't make it tonight. So I'm here to talk about a couple of things. First, we'll start out with CEP and kind of what that looks like for the district, and then we'll talk about our annual renewal for next year. So I have a paper here. So the USDA has announced that basically as of the next school year, everything will be returning back to free, paid, reduced as we were pre-pandemic. So, which that means for this district is you guys were currently CEP. You guys were currently CEP K through 5 prior to the pandemic. So we wanted to take this time. I've been working with Mr. Meadows and Mr. Fleming and reviewing the numbers to see if we qualify to go more into the district, go K through 8, or potentially look at going the whole district. The downfall of going the whole district is that technically the high school does not qualify for the program. You have to be over a certain percentage of identified students, and the high school does not meet that qualification. Now we can review it and look at it as a whole, and we meet it as a whole, but just because you meet that program doesn't mean it's necessarily financially the best decision to go with you. So that's kind of what these numbers here that I have, I'll kind of walk through. So the way this program works is that you have a certain percentage that you claim free and a certain percentage that you claim paid. So currently right now, K through 5, we're claiming 77% free and then the rest paid. If we went K through 8, that would take that claiming percentage of K through 5 down to 73%. As you can see the difference just from if we stayed status quo as far as participation, the drop in percentage would be about a $6,000 deficit. These numbers were reviewed of August to April, so almost the full year. So roughly probably about a $7,000 deficit for the whole year. Now what was nice about having this last year is that we were participating all for free. So you actually got to see, if we have the opportunity for your students to have free meals, what type of participation would we see? So prior to COVID, your participation from 6 to 8 was 32% breakfast and 75% lunch. Oh, I'm sorry. It was 11% breakfast and 47% lunch. Now, the last year, because they were all have the ability to eat free, it bumped it up to 32% of breakfast and 75% of lunch. So huge increase. So with that increase that we saw through your middle school, it gives you about an $8,000 positive because of the booster participation. That's the way this program works. Technically, for it to work financially, if you are no longer collecting money from your paid and reduced students, then you are boosting your participation to get more reimbursements from the state to offset the costs or that revenue that would be coming in from your students. So with the participation that we've seen already, that we have hard facts, I feel very confident in saying that that $8,000 is going to cover your loss, or the boosted participation in middle school will cover the loss of what it would be transitioning the elementary to a lower percentage rate. So for a total, that would roughly be about $2,000 in the positive if we went K through 8. Now, kind of the same scenario, I did, to break it down, whole district, just to give you a concept of what that would look like. If we went K through 12, you would take your K through 5 that's currently claiming at that 77%, and now you're dropping it down to 65%, incorporating the whole district into it. So that would be about an $18,000 loss, basically. And then, unfortunately, with the high school, we did not see a dramatic increase. We saw a very good increase over, well, I guess it feels like a very good increase over breakfast, but it was only a 2% increase. Increase. Breakfast was 71% of an increase. But we still just did not see the boost in participation for the high school to really make up that difference of what we would see. And so there would be a potential of about $30,000 loss by doing it the whole district. So basically, it's kind of a no-brainer in a way that I would suggest you guys move forward with K through 8, and that way you have the majority of your district that's covered. Your high school are just kind of a different beast when it comes to meals.
And they'll also have or their parents will have the ability to sign up for free and reduce at the high
Correct.
school level.
Absolutely. So we'll go back to the free and reduced application. We'll go out to every household income, and if they are obviously below that threshold, they will still have that opportunity.
Makes perfect sense.
Which this is kind of the steps that we were looking forward when we first started to eventually hope to expand it to the district.
Do you guys have any questions? Mr. Meadows?
No?
Okay, so I will roll into our renewal. So normally our renewals work that there is a CPI that is set by the state that we, based off of food away from home in December, that we basically take your original meal rate, we times it by that factor, and then that's what your meal rate is. This year it was at 6% was the CPI that was set in December. We are currently actually asking for a 2% increase on top of that due to inflation and current CPIs that we are seeing now. So we are asking for a total of 2% increase. So that's what you see. So in the first box it says the 21-22 school meal rate. So that's where you guys currently are now. And then with the proposed, it goes up to that next box. Now, currently, when we first started this contract, all the labor was district labor. Now, we have taken that labor through attrition. Anytime anybody retires or leaves or whatever, we hire them on as Aramark staff. And currently we are, because the way these contracts are built, we're currently billing that labor back to the district until we basically go out for bid again. So with this contract, we have the availability to factor in the 3 employees that we have on our staff into your meal rate. So we will no longer be doing a bill back. It'll just now be factored into that meal rate. So basically, you're paying the same amount. It's just now factored into your meal rate. And then you would just have the district labor that is still on your books. So that is the proposed 22-23 meal rate with that number factored in. Okay. So on that second page, we just have kind of a couple things to just consider also. So the state, the end of last year, came out with a supply chain assistant grant. So that money is basically to help for supply chain expenses. So that money was given directly to the school districts. So if you factor in, you guys received about $16,000. As of right now, that's where it's at, but if schools did not elect to receive it for whatever reason, which I don't know if they would, any money that's left over, they would then distribute it to all the school districts that said that they were gonna receive it. So that number could potentially go up. But by time you factor in that $16,000, we're actually asking for a negative increase. So you basically got more money for the state than what our 8% increase is going to offset you. That middle bucket just kind of breaks down the minimum wage calculator and how we came up with that. These are the 18-19 meals, so these are actually your meals that were in your bid packet to help us break down where that meal rate comes from. And then the bottom box there is kind of, it's again taking those meals, those breakfast and lunch meals, and we estimated that your reimbursement rate will be about 5%. We think it's gonna be higher. Normally the reimbursement rates for the state have been released and they have not. So it's kind of one of those red flag scenarios. I don't know if I'm reading just to kind of see where the CPI is gonna land, but it typically is increased by CPI as well. So we estimated at 5%, which again I think is low. By the time you factor in your commodity credit and your supply chain, it has you coming out with about $180,000. Now obviously you still have that district labor on your books, so that will pretty much eat up the majority of that. But that is kind of where we're at. And do you have any questions on the renewal?
You said the supply chain money, it comes directly to the school? So
Yeah.
you account for that, Bob?
Mhm.
You've received that? And the commodity credit comes through what you...
That's what we were talking about earlier, that we take your commodity credit and we subtract it off your total expenses from our invoices.
And our number left in district labor, do you have off the top of your head,
What's that?
the number of district labor?
No, because this would still account for the labor that,
Okay.
How do you go back?
if I remember right, I think when I did the original budget and I had to fix that in the spring, it seemed to me like it was around 78,000, something along those lines. And there will be an increase, which we'll discuss later on in the meeting for the support staff, but I still feel like it would be within that 108,000, under that $108,000.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nate.
Yep.
And thank you, Kelly.
All right, so at this time I need a motion to enter closed session for the reasons stated on the agenda. Motion made by Jessica Browning, is there a second? Lori Campbell, call roll please.
Campbell? Yes. Guerrero?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Stahl?
Yes.
Brown?
I need a motion to accept the closed session minutes as read in closed session. Motion made by Lori Campbell, is there a second?
Yep.
Jeff Stahl, call roll please.
Casual.
Yeah.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Stahl?
Yes.
Browning? Campbell? Yes. Guerrero?
Yes. I need to have a motion to accept the resignation of Heather Keady as high school football cheerleading coach effective immediately.
So moved.
Motion made by Josh Gilbert, is there a second? Lori Campbell, call roll please.
Stahl?
Yes.
Browning?
Yes.
Campbell? Ms. Guerrero.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Leeper. Yes.
Motion to accept the resignation of Carl Spaff as middle school girls track coach effective immediately. Motion made by Jeff Stahl, seconded by Jessica Browning. Call roll, please.
Browning.
Yes.
Campbell. Yes. Guerrero.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Leeper. Yes. Stahl.
Yes.
Motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement. Did you want to have a discussion about that before we motion? Or are you good? Okay. So
I'm
mo-
fine unless you guys want to have
Okay.
discussion. I don't see the need.
Okay.
We want to move on.
All right. Motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement with the SVEA for the 2022, 2023, 2023, 2024, 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026 school years.
Sorry, I didn't get all those. Could you say that again? So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper. Is there a second?
Second.
Josh Hilbert, call roll, please.
Campbell. Yes. Guerrero.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Leeper. Yes. Stahl.
Yes.
Browning.
Okay. And you want to discuss this or motion it?
Motion.
Need a motion to increase the educational support staff salary schedule by 4.47% for the 2022-2023 school year.
So moved, but can I ask, will we do this next year?
Yeah.
At the,
Each year.
at the rate each year?
Yes.
Okay.
At the
Okay.
June meeting.
So moved.
And is there a second? Jessica Browning, call roll, please.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Leeper. Yes. Stahl.
Yes.
Browning.
Yes.
Campbell. Yes.
And the consent agenda you all received in your packet. Does anybody have any questions that you haven't already had answered? Then I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So.
Motion made by Josh Hilbert. Is there a second? Lori Campbell. Call roll, please.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Leeper. Yes. Stahl.
Yes.
Browning.
Yes.
Campbell. Yes. Guerrero.
Yes.
I forgot to put, on my, motions, the curriculum reviews report.
Oh, yeah, I got it on the.
It's on the agenda, it's just not on my,
Yep. So, Dr. Field.
We looked at our fast bridge numbers over the course of the year with our final report from the assessment that we did in the spring. And really the high points I broke down for you in an email within the group screening reports for the district. Grades 2 through 10, we saw overall a 2% increase in students that are above that median benchmark. And then early reading, which is kindergarten and first grades, we saw a 7% increase, which was really solid. Scores for the district then in math, we saw grades 2 through 10. Again, a 2% increase, really kind of mirrored what we saw with reading. And then a 6% increase in early math, grades K through 1. I kind of gave you a breakdown, just a low risk, what they consider low risk, some risk, high risk for early reading, and then also the A reading and early, or then A math, which is grades 2 through 10, are almost exactly the same, but they break them into 4 groups, and the high achieving group is what they kind of list as. They've changed that to what's considered college career ready. So when you see those numbers on there, that's a little more telling. Things were kind of scattered across the board. So I think looking at the bigger picture was a little easier. But if you look through the reports there and things, and I can field any questions that you may have on that, we saw pretty standard, achievement across the board, even considering coming out of the pandemic and things that we've seen in the last 2 years. So I feel like we're getting a pretty good baseline moving forward. Now that we're starting with this new assessment, we've got enough data to start tracking and kind of seeing what we're doing and diving into that a little deeper as we move along, which is nice. And I was pleasantly surprised actually when we were looking through things, especially in the primary grades, to see the kind of growth we were seeing. So it was good.
Do you feel like everybody did okay with the fast bridge testing this go around with the training and everything?
I think from, informally from just talking to people, I think that they like it better because it is a little shorter. It's a little easier to get knocked out than the math testing. Math testing was generally taking anywhere from, some kids would be done in that 41-minute, 42-minute period, but really it took about 45 minutes minimum to get it done. So by the time you started, paused it somewhere before the end of the hour, then started, I mean, you burned 2 class periods. This one was a lot quicker. You know, they could get it done in about 25 minutes, which gives you enough time to kind of start out, and then it's not timed, so kids can take as long as they want, which is what you want, because you want to get a real clear picture of where they're at. But usually by 9th and 10th grade, most kids are kind of like over it. You know, they don't really see the point. So you will see kind of dips there when you go looking through the reports. But, you know, I think for the teachers, the ease of being able to give that in a lot quicker format was much better. They liked it a lot better. And the data is very telling in the same way. I mean, and we see the same kind of things with this that we saw through math, you know, from grade to grade. And I think that we'll see that over time too. It'll just be a lot more streamlined system to use. It's all there in one spot. We progress monitor with that too. So, you know, before with math, we're doing our 3 times a year assessment, sometimes 2 times a year. But then we're progress monitoring with this other thing that's not even aligned the same way. So this is way better, because then they just hop on there, they're on the same system, and the data's in the same place. Way easier, way less cumbersome for the teachers and for administrators to be accessing.
So is the teacher interpreting what they're doing and grading what they're doing at what level, or is it some type of computer system that's actually, you start here and this is what you complete and you finish here?
So it's an adaptive test with the upper grades, you know, so they do it on the computer, and based on their responses, it gives them, you know, it's kind of like those books that you used to read as a kid and be like, okay, if you want this, you know, to find out what happens with this, you go to page 13, and then you go to page 26 if you want to go this way. So it kind of gives you different aspects as you move along, till it pinpoints exactly where your level's at. With the younger kids, they do pencil and paper, and it's more one-on-one with the, and you guys don't do that by the time 3rd grade. That's just primary with the early, right? So it is one-on-one, and they're doing more paper and pencil things. And then 2nd grade's when they start hopping on the computer. Sometimes you'll see a dip when they go to 2nd grade with kids, because it's something new for them to get used to. Kind of like 6th grade when they move to middle school and they're doing this, that, and the other. Sometimes you'll see a dip and then they're right back with it in 7th grade. So, you know, that's what I like about it too, and I think that a lot of the, like I said, primary teachers like it better doing it in that format as opposed to, let's put a kindergartner on a computer, put the headphones on them and just let her rip. You know, they're going to do everything perfect without any help. You know, it's a little easier to sit there with prompts, what you would do in a more traditional assessment with achievement testing.
So how early do you do the fall test? I don't remember from last fall. Once they get back, how quickly do you
We
do it?
try to give everybody a couple weeks. So usually we start out usually about the 1st week of September, last week of August sometimes. We want to get everybody in, get routines understood, kind of get the daily this and that underway before we start throwing that at them. Because that's kind of a curveball, you know, that you throw at them when it's like, okay, you're going to take this test on the computer now. Well, no, we want to get our routines learned, stuff like that a little bit better first. And then it usually takes us anywhere from a couple weeks to, you know, sometimes it's taken a month to get through everybody and make sure everybody gets done it. So,
And
you know,
you're
but
doing
that's
it
not
at
here
the
to learn.
level here as well?
What's
In
that?
High school? They do it in the high school as well?
We do it up to 10th grade. Students that are special ed with an IEP will do it in 11th and 12th grades because they use it for their IEP goals, and just to see where they're at in terms of their reading and math scores academically.
And are we not using it in the 3rd through 5th grade level? Or, okay.
And then we progress monitor too for IEP goals, so they can use that as part of their progress monitoring tools, you know, throughout. Because, and when I say progress monitoring, so they take shorter tests in between those benchmark tests 3 times a year, just to see where they're falling at in terms of their goals for either reading or math. So that's why we can tell if our interventions are working or not. So if we're staying above a trend line of where we want to be, we know we're on the right track. If we're falling below that trend line or going above and below and being inconsistent, then we know something's going on with what we're doing, or something's going on with that student in particular.
All right. Superintendent's report?
I provided you an updated food service report, and I was not far off on my revenue projections, a little bit lower with the lunch sales. $490 less on revenue than what I had projected. One of the questions that we had was this commodity credit, and trying to figure out whether that actually came to the district or if it went to Airmark, and how we deducted that amount. And we figured it out, and it's just deducted off the Airmark bill, basically. So it doesn't really ever show up on our books other than a credit in our monthly invoice from Airmark. As far as the revenue from the state and federal levels, roughly $2,000. So when you subtract the 500 from our own sales, it's about a $1,500 difference from what I projected back in May. Again, like I mentioned with our expenditures, I was relatively close on that. $1,800 off. We had $1,800 less salary and benefit expenditures than what I had projected, and the grocery supplies were down about $13,000 less than what I had projected. So I originally said that we had a negative balance, which was incorrect. It was actually positive balance of about $12,000. And then you add the additional revenue and about $15,000 less in expenditures, you come up with a positive balance of roughly $28,506, which is excellent for food service business. And as I mentioned in my report to you, prior to Airmark coming in, we were usually running somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 in the red in that program. And that's not good, and I don't know if it's typical with other districts, but that's just how we did business here. So thank you to the Airmark crew that came in and was able to turn that around. And I did mention too that we had a 5-year contract originally, and we're going to have to renew that again in the spring after year 4. So we will look at, we'll put that out to bid again and see what happens. So that's all I have on the food service report. Does anybody have any other questions on that? Also, thanks to Jeff for seeing that my negative number really should have been a positive number. Again, I'm just not used to dealing in positive numbers when we're talking about the food service business. So I just wrote it down and just assumed it was a negative. So it was not. So it's all
Is the
positive.
renewal process, when it goes out to bid, easier than the first time we did it? Or do you have to do that whole big
You
application
still have
report
to
thing
do it.
again? Same thing?
You should have a template this year, so it should be a little bit easier, but
I've been through it once.
yes.
And I saved everything from last time, so it'll be easier. It's cumbersome.
It's like 150 pages.
Yeah, it was.
It's a task.
Beast, for sure. Fee schedule. I provided you with a proposed fee schedule. Really the only increase, I think we added 10 cents to high school lunches. And then maybe 10 cents a lunch, or was it a nickel?
Extra milk went up from 25 to 60 cents.
Nobody gets an extra milk.
Don't tell that to my kids.
The price of milk over double.
Oh, I'm sure,
Yeah.
I'm just personally sad about it.
So the lunch did.
There's
go
a way
from
around it. Oh, really? Yeah.
We can have that now.
It's all right. Apparently someone does get an extra milk. Not very many. But anyway, yeah, the milk went up, but some of those things are out of our hands and control. The only other increase would be for the athletic fee. I raised that $10 to $50 per student. whether you play one sport or four. So, when we get to that part of the, new business, I'll recommend that you, approve the fee schedule. Everything else has remained the same for some time.
Sometimes I'm so slow. I'm just now realizing we don't have to bid for milk and bread anymore, do we? No. We used to get the bids for.
You like gas and diesel,
So budget
Yes,
for
bread and
I know.
milk.
There's
Like,
no,
we don't have to buy milk anymore. Okay.
And then the last thing that I had, the primary intercom is kind of working intermittently. I'm working with two different companies trying to get proposals to fix the current system. What I will look at over the course of maybe the next couple of years is looking to upgrade the intercom system in all of our buildings. I will try to do that through grants and try to save the district as much money as possible, but all of the buildings need some internet infrastructure. I'm not very techy as far as what that would actually be called, but each building is in need of upgrade, probably the primary school being the worst. So if I can get them up and running for this school year, during the school year, I'll try to get quotes from QNS for infrastructure upgrades, and then we'll look at the possibility of doing intercom upgrade as well along with that, which would look more like, instead of the secretary pushing a button, everything would be done through a phone. I think if you go into new schools these days, that's probably what you find, that each classroom would have their own phone. And the positive thing about that is if the teacher saw something that they needed to do a lockdown, I believe that each teacher at that point could go in and do an all-call from the classroom. It would go to the entire building, which currently we do not have that capability.
good.
But I will keep you updated as, I will let you know what the intercom is gonna cost to get fixed, and then as I move along and try to do this, next school year, maybe we do the primary as a pilot, see how that works, and then maybe look at doing the other buildings after that. But I'm sure that there'll be grant money out there somewhere to do that. So that's all I have for the superintendent's report.
So going into new business, we have the amended budget that we had on the beginning of the meeting. Anything to say about that, or can I motion?
You can go ahead.
Okay, I need a motion to accept the amended 2021-2022 school district budget as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Jeff Stahl, is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Leeper, call roll please.
Stahl.
Yes.
Browning.
Yes.
Campbell. Yes. Guerrero.
Yes.
Gilbert. Leeper. Yes.
We're gonna go out of order a little bit on the agenda. The next item that I had on the agenda, for some reason, I put fee schedule. But it'd really be better to move that down after the Community Eligibility Provision Program, the CEP program that Megan referred to, because that will impact the lunch prices. Sorry.
Okay.
So we'll move that down and then we'll act upon it afterwards.
Alright. And then we have, we want to discuss health or?
Yeah, we can talk about the health insurance. Health insurance coverage did go up to $770.46 per month per employee. The board, per the SVA contract, agreed to pay up to $775 per month per employee. It's good coverage again, and really looking at all the quotes, there wasn't anything that was a real cost savings that wouldn't have just created a terrible burden for our employees. I think this is the best option, and it's something that we can afford, and I think we should do.
And it keeps them on the same plan they were on.
Same plan,
Or same.
same
everything.
coverages. Hopefully, Blue Cross Blue Shield and Springfield Clinic will figure that out, and then we'll be back to normal. But I recommend that we do that.
So a motion to renew the employee health insurance coverage of Blue Cross Blue Shield for the 2022-2023 school year at a cost of $770.46 per month per employee. Motion made by Josh Hilbert, is there a second? Jessica Browning, call roll please.
Browning?
Yes.
Campbell? Guerrero?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Stahl?
Yes.
Next up is the dental vision life insurance coverages. Guardian typically, or has done that for us in the past. They gave us a bid for it again at no additional cost to our employees. And it is something that our employees can choose or choose not to take part in. And if they want to do it, then they pay, and it's very small premium
So,
to do that.
so motion to award the dental vision and life insurance coverage to Guardian for the 2022-2023 school year at no cost to the district. Motion made by Lori Campbell, second by Jessica Browning. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. It was time for our property casualty commercial insurance again. Mr. We generally,
Comes and speaks to you guys about it. I provided you with this cover letter, kind of explaining that. I think there was, what was it, 3%? 3.7% increase, which is very reasonable. Part of that decrease though was, that we had a good year workman's comp wise. And, that took a big chunk of what would have been a substantial increase if they would come in as low as they did. So that's in a separate motion, so I would recommend you go ahead and approve.
okay. So motion to award the Liberty Mutual Insurance, the property casualty, commercial auto, student accident, and the umbrella coverage for the 2022-2023 school year at a total cost not to exceed $130,801.
So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper, is there a second?
I'll second.
Jeff Stahl, call roll please.
Campbell? Yes. Guerrero?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Stahl?
Yes.
Browning?
And then the motion to award the workers' compensation insurance coverage to Zenith for the 2022-2023 school year at a total cost of $42,210.
So moved.
What was that, Josh Hilbert? Is there a second? Lori Campbell, call roll please.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Stahl?
Yes.
Browning?
Yes.
Campbell? Yes.
And then, as we've heard from Aramark representatives this evening, do you want any further discussion or your motion?
Ready?
Motion to renew the contract for the food management services with Aramark for the 2022-2023 school year.
So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper, is there a second? Lori Campbell, call roll please.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Stahl?
Yes.
Browning?
Yes.
Campbell? Guerrero?
Yes. Okay, in addition, this goes along with, the portion with Aramark. A motion to proceed with the community eligibility provision program in grades pre-K through 8th grade for the 22-23 school year.
So moved.
Motion made by Lori Campbell, is there a second? Jessica Browning, call roll please.
Stahl?
Yes.
Browning?
Yes.
Campbell? Guerrero?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes.
Now we can do the fiscal.
Yes. And, do we go over those changes, or are we good? You did also in the
Yeah, I
superintendent's report,
went
correct?
over
So motion to approve the fee, not the free. Motion to approve the 2022-2023 fee schedule as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper, is there a second?
Yes.
Josh Hilbert, call roll please.
Browning?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Stahl?
The next item, are the regional safe school and futures unlimited agreements, with Senate Bill 100 being passed. We're obligated to provide some sort of alternative school. The regional safe school, also known as Milligan Academy, would suffice for that. And then oftentimes these students will transition from Milligan Academy or the safe school into Futures Unlimited. Both programs are, I think, have improved markedly over the last 10 years, and I think they're a good alternative for our students that are in that need. So I would recommend that you approve those agreements.
Okay, so motion to approve the Regional Safe School and Futures Unlimited agreements for the 2022-2023 school year.
So moved.
Motion made by Jessica Brown, is there a second?
Second.
Lori Campbell, call roll please.
Yeah, this is a roll call vote on this one?
It is not. It has to be a roll call because, which one charges us, John? I don't remember.
What's that now?
Which is it Milligan or Futures that bills us a daily rate?
Milligan.
Okay, all right. Campbell?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Hilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Stahl?
Yes.
Browning?
Yes.
Sorry, no.
And
The student transportation safety hazard is something that we do every year. There have been 2 safety hazards identified in Illiopolis. One of them is the highway, Route 36, and then the train that runs through the middle of town. Without passing this resolution, students that live within a mile and a half would have to cross those 2 places somehow, and would not be allowed transportation to school for that. So by doing this, it allows us to transport those students and be reimbursed from the state.
so motion to adopt the resolution for student transportation safety hazard for the 2022-2023 school year. Motion made by Lori Campbell, is there a second? Jeff Stahl. Call roll, do I have to? Call roll please.
Yeah. Guerrero?
Okay.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Hilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Stahl?
Yes.
Browning?
Yes.
Campbell? Yes.
Okay. Minimum wage.
Prevailing wage resolution for the 2022-2023 school year. There was a question, since we're in multiple counties, if we're doing work in Sangamon County, would we have to follow Sangamon County's prevailing wage? I was always told, and I'll try to do some more research to find out if this is accurate or not, but since the unit office is in Macon County and ROE is in Macon County as well, then they set the prevailing wage for work that to be done for the school district. And that work would have to be, the prevailing wage would have to be at least at the Macon County minimum wage spot. If Sangamon County wanted at that point maybe to pay their employees more, then obviously they can do whatever they wish, but they have to meet at least the minimum standards of that. But I'll double check that for sure, but this is how we've always done it, this is how it's been.
Have to pay our guys by where they're actually doing the work, so, yeah, I would ask if, just make sure that we're on cue, it's not gonna be much off, but.
And I don't know what the difference would be.
I looked at a few today because I was curious, and it's about $2 an hour higher in Sangamon County. I only looked at a couple different trains, it was around $2 for.
So I need a motion to adopt the prevailing wage resolution for the 2022-2023 school year. And I guess going back to that, if the companies we're hiring are taking care of that, they're paying their employees based on the pay scale that they know they're supposed to pay them, so.
Are they submitting certified payrolls? You never actually look at them?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I do not.
Most of the time, if it's a large project with the construction company. Okay. Motion to adopt the prevailing wage resolution for the 2022-2023 school year. Made by Jeff Stahl. Is there a second? Lori Campbell. Call roll, please.
Hilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Campbell, Ms. Guerrero.
Yes. So we have the handbooks. I think we had a couple of questions initially. Jeff had asked about, the training. We have, different things. What was it? Tell me again. Oh, the EpiPens, and then there was something to do with Narcan, yeah.
Do you have that in the high school office?
What's that?
Narcan?
I think some, we might have, or might have on hand or
We
something.
may have on here.
You have heavy pins, I know
Yeah.
that.
And are they, I guess that's it, are they for the individual student, or they're just a basic EpiPen that's updated every 12 months?
We have one that's like emergency box of them, and then the other one is like if we have somebody that has a severe allergy or something, they need to provide them to us like today.
So I think my computer's died here, I can't look it up. Is the Narcan, when we went through board policy, is it required, or is it still a optional, or, because you said, the wording says may have,
I'll look it up.
but I'm just, if you go to board policy, just type in Narcan, and see, it'll help you
Yeah, I
find
know.
it quicker. But
I don't think it's a bad thing to have on hand nowadays. Sad to say.
Yes. So that was your one question. I think the other one we answered was with the making sure that days, it's 8 per semester. And I think there's something a little bit different specific for your high school one that was like in a 15-day, but that was more of like a truancy thing. If they hadn't done, by 15 days. I think that was answered. Did anybody else have any other questions
I got
regarding?
one more question.
Oh, he's got one.
How many parts?
The vision and hearing screening says by IDPH, do we buy their own stuff? Yeah.
The nurse usually takes care of that.
We do have our own
Did
equipment.
we purchase it? Yeah, I was gonna say, we had it
But
down to purchase.
in there it says ID,
IDPH equipment.
yeah.
did you die too?
No, he just didn't.
I went the wrong way.
I plugged mine in before I came, and it's like,
But now we have,
Our own,
so does that have to be, does it say IDPH provided equipment?
will be conducted by
Conducted by-
Illinois Department of Health.
it would just say by the school nurse.
She has to be qualified to do it, and she's,
Well, they bring a person in, certified.
Oh, so they do
Oh, yeah,
still do it
just-
even
So
though.
they just come in, but they'll use our equipment
Right.
now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
we had a deal where we borrowed the equipment, and the person, the district that we borrowed from, that person would come over and do it. Well, that stopped, and then, so we got our own equipment, and now we're working on getting our,
And she can get certified in the future, correct?
yes.
This is really hard because they only certify a certain number of people within the area codes. So you have to get on this training.
Makes sense, really. Let's require something and
I was
not,
gonna say, why is
not
it
provide
so
the
hard?
training, or only do a certain number of trainings.
Undesignated medications. The school may maintain the following undesignated prescription medications for emergency use: asthma medicine, epi-injector, opiate antagonist, and glucagon.
That'd be.
Diabetes. Yeah.
So that's in our board policy, that's what the state says, that you may,
No,
That's in the manual.
oh, that's in the handbook.
So I was just wondering if we have all that stuff, is more than just the nurse training, since the nurse is only in one spot.
Everybody trains on EpiPen, like that's just state law. Everybody trains on AED, and that stuff, CPR. It's all through our global compliance network, so it's just online training to everybody. Like certain ones are supposed to be done every single year, just as part of what we need to do to be compliant.
Have they added the Narcan stuff to your compliance yet, or is that?
No, not that I've seen. But then that, I think that's pretty recent, so.
I was gonna say, so there's probably not gonna be any distributed or whatever until you guys are
Opiate
required to.
antagonist.
Yeah, no, we haven't heard anything from that ROE about that or anything. I know that they were talking about stuff a few years ago when we still had a school resource officer. But that all obviously kind of went south, so, not sure about all that, but yeah, whatever that they say we have to do, they will give us that. Now, in terms of the tabs and stuff like that, that's usually if we have a student that is diabetic, they, provide us with those things specifically for the student, along with all their testing supplies and insulin and things of that nature. So if that's gonna be a case, usually within our health plans and our 504 plans that we have to go through that kind of stuff, we have that all specifically specified as to what we need to do for that specific student. Instead of just, hey, here's some meds, good luck.
In case you have
I
some.
think
What do we do with this?
Our students with severe issues, we have aides that would be available in that building if the nurse was in another, or one of them would be in very close proximity to that student.
Okay. Any other questions on the handbooks in any of the 3 buildings? 4 buildings?
We'll do the middle school later,
Okay,
maybe right before school starts.
okay. So, motion to approve the changes to the primary school student handbook for the 2022-2023 school year. Motion made by Jeff Stahl, is there a second?
Second.
Josh Hilbert, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Motion to approve the changes to the intermediate school student handbook for the 2022-2023 school year as well.
So then.
So moved by Josh Hilbert, is there a second?
I'll second.
Leeper, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Motion to approve the changes of the high school handbook for the high school handbook for the 2022-2023 school year. Motion made by Josh Hilbert, all seconded. Call roll, please. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Just trying to keep y'all here a little bit longer.
And I'm glad you got your name in the minutes here. You made a motion.
Once in a while, I just throw it in there
Seconded.
for the fun.
Last 2 items, the cooperative agreement with Tri-City for both girls softball and boys baseball at the middle school level. I think maybe I need to add that.
I think we need that middle school there. So before girls and boys.
Yes,
I'll add.
middle school. And middle school. I thought we had everything on the same rotation, but apparently we did not. I think these are the only 2 sports that will not come up for renewal, and we'll have a discussion on those in December.
Does this not include Northwestern? It doesn't on here, but I
It's
just
not,
saw a t-shirt come home to say that had an E on it as well, so.
I think that was high school.
that was for high school.
Okay.
That was for this year, their 1 year, that they came in. It was just for 1 year, right?
That,
Or was it signed
I
for?
don't remember.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we shouldn't have included it.
No, not at the middle school level.
Okay.
So a motion to approve the cooperative agreement for the middle school girls softball with Tri-City as the host school for the 2022, 2023, 2024 school years.
The next 2 years. So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper, is there a second? Second by Browning, call roll please.
Stahl?
Yes.
Browning?
Yes.
Campbell? Yes. Guerrero?
Yes.
Hilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes.
And a motion to approve the cooperative agreement for middle school boys baseball with Tri-City as the host school for the 2022, 2023, and 2023, 2024 school years. Motion made by Jeff Stahl, is there a second?
Second.
Josh Hilbert, call roll please.
Browning? Yes. Campbell? Yes. Guerrero?
Yes?
Hilbert?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Stahl?
Yes. Oh,
Before we dismiss, I'm gonna need you guys to sign under the members voting yay before you leave on the amended budget.
okay,
And then I have one.
okay. So, under the yay? Yes, sign. So our next regularly scheduled meeting is for July 20th at 6 p.m. And at this point, I need a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Jeff Stahl, is there a second?
Yep.
Martha Leeper. All in favor?
Yes.